Alright, so we just have a short update video. The Legends Ultimate Arcade Cabinet has come out with another firmware release. Now this was released on January 3rd, 2020, which sounds really weird to say. This is my first video of the new year, so Happy New Year to everybody. Now there was actually an update a few days ago which came out right on the 1st, and that actually gave us public release for Bluetooth rather than having just the beta builds that a lot of people had to sideload onto their cabinets. So now we actually have the official Bluetooth launch with our arcade cabinet, which is really nice. Now I'm just going to go over some of the release notes, and I'm going to talk to you guys about what's changed and a little bit more information about Bluetooth, because I'm seeing a lot of confusion. There's been a couple people that aren't quite sure how it works in what host mode is versus what device mode is. So I'll give you a little bit of information about that. And then I'm going to talk about some really exciting news that's come out from AtGames that was sent to me a couple days ago. I just didn't have the time to put out a video a little bit sooner. So let's go ahead and jump into the release notes. Obviously, the big things that we've got here is now we have Bluetooth enabled. So like I said, that came out on the 4.0 release. They just re-released a 4.0.1 beta, and that's to fix a couple of issues that were happening with the Bluetooth release. So the main highlights for these new releases are obviously enabled Bluetooth. We've got an updated leaderboard that only ranks scores achieved with 0 rewind, and I think that is probably the most fair thing that you can do. If you're just kind of going and using the rewind function back and forth to get your high score, it shouldn't be counted towards the leaderboard, so I appreciate that they did that. Another really awesome thing that they've done, which is really small but it makes a big deal, is that they've moved the 4-way, 8-way joystick settings from the global settings, like in your main global settings, to the in-game menu. So this is helpful if you're playing a game like Burger Time. You can go ahead and press the menu button, and then you can actually change whether or not you want your joystick to be 4-way or 8-way right within the game. So this makes a big difference. It's much easier to do this rather than having to go to settings, then select your game, then go back to settings and change back. That was kind of convoluted and unnecessary. We now have it right within our in-game menu. Additionally, some people have noticed that the descriptions for some of the games weren't 100% accurate, so we now have that corrected. Now, going back into the Bluetooth, it is generally recommended that once you've enabled the Bluetooth mode, you should perform a power cycle after this. And the reason you want to do this is it just refreshes everything and it makes sure that the Bluetooth is actually working properly. In terms of the two different modes, we have a host mode and we have a device mode. Host mode is when you want to connect devices to it. For example, you want to play a 4-player game, you want to connect, say, a PS4 controller to your arcade cabinet. This is the mode that you're going to want to be able to get your 3rd and 4th player controls connected. In terms of a device mode, this is when you're going to use this for Raspberry Pi. What it does essentially is convert the control panel into a Bluetooth device. So this is really good if you've got a Raspberry Pi or an Odroid, or you've got any other device that you're trying to connect the control panel to. This will actually work as though it on its own is a Bluetooth device. Other small things that have changed with this release is that they've enabled APL pairing process to be interrupted. So previously, when it was running and it was trying to pair, there was no way that you could cancel it or you could interrupt it. Now you have the ability to do so. And then of course there's some minor UI improvements and general performance and stability improvements. I would say this firmware release is probably the biggest and best that we've had since we had the release that enabled additional games to be loaded on with the add-on tools. So this is really cool. I appreciate this is a big one. So definitely, if you guys haven't gone ahead and downloaded the update, you should. Now I've been playing around with it for quite a few days now since the release, and I haven't had any issues. So if you're worried about connecting into it and having problems, I would say that this one is a safe build as of right now. Now, I do want to mention that there is some known issues, specifically when you are set to Bluetooth host mode. If it's unable to discover any devices, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to toggle to Bluetooth device mode and then back to the host mode before trying again. So just a little note there, definitely give that a shot if you're running into problems. I was able to get everything running though perfectly fine, other than that host mode discovering devices issue, which is very easily fixable. And now the really big news. Now you guys may have already heard this before from some of the other YouTubers, or maybe you guys saw it online or something, but on January 2nd I received a press release, a little bit of information from AtGames. They are now going to be partnering with Taito, and if you're not familiar with Taito, they've been in the industry and they're a huge name in the industry for the better part of 40 years now. They've been pumping games out since the 80s. Some games that you may be familiar with would be something like Bubble Bobble, Arkanoid, Jungle Hunt, Puzzle Bobble 2, Space Invaders, things like that. And what it looks like we're going to be getting is that AtGames, partnering with them, we're going to get a ton of their games brought over. It looks like about 50 Taito arcade titles are going to be brought in just the first half of 2020. We don't know if they're going to be arcade games or if they're going to be console ports, and we're not 100% sure what they're going to be doing with them. I would imagine that they're probably going to be pumping some out on some of their new Blast devices, so that way you can take those Blast devices, pump them into the arcade cabinet. Additionally, we may get a few games added to the arcade cabinet through a firmware release. I'm not 100% sure what they're planning to do here, but definitely this is really, really exciting. And what the really cool thing about this is that Taito is actually owned by Square Enix. So Square Enix is pumping out some really awesome current gen games, and Square Enix owns a ton of IPs and some really high quality games. So the fact that AtGames has partnered up with Taito is pretty cool, because it could potentially open the door for additional partnerships with some other IP products or other games or things like that. So that's really awesome. I'm really excited to see what actually comes down the pipeline and what we're going to end up getting. So definitely looking forward to that. But that's all I've got in this video. Thank you guys so very much for watching. If you guys have any questions at all about this firmware release, please leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will talk to you guys again real soon.